Mr. Logan, we would like you to help us address the issues that you're having with the hand counting of ballots, the paper examination, and then we'll move into voter data analysis and envelopes. So let's start with the hand count of ballots and where we're at on that.
So there's been a lot of questions, I know, about the timeline and why some things have taken a little bit longer than expected. I have to say that every audit I've ever been a part of, usually whatever the organization is that you're working with, is available to answer questions or run ideas by and to get some feedback on findings. And that's one of the more difficult things with this audit is to not have that feedback loop and not be able to ask questions on things that could be solved very quickly.
From Maricopa County.
Correct, from Maricopa County. Specifically, we've run into with, I think Ken Bennett was stating earlier about some of the duplicated ballots. Specifically, we've had a lot of problems with the way that those were recorded and the way they were received over. I think probably the best way to do this is go over, I think it's actually Exhibit B, if you can put that up on the screen. Actually, can you zoom in so people can see that a little better? Okay. So what we have here on the top of the screen is the original manifest on one of the boxes that held duplicate stuff in it. You can see all the numbers, the MC 17416 and so forth. So that was what was stated was given to us. If you take a look at the table below it, and actually if you can just zoom in a little more maybe to make it a little more clear. And we don't need the top part anymore, you can scroll down. So on the actual manifest, the far left column has the manifest batch number. And then if you look right next to it, there's actually what the observed batch number was within it. You'll notice that the first few ones are actually correct. But then you get down to MC 171634, which is about halfway down. You notice that its naming convention is as if it is an original, but it is actually a duplicate. And just to step back a little bit to give a little bit of clarity, anytime there is a ballot that can't be run through the tabulator, whether that's because it's damaged, whether it's because it's something like a Braille ballot or something like UACAVA, any of the other forms, they actually have to create duplicates of it that are then run through the tabulators.
Can you tell us what UACAVA stands for, please?
Uniform Overseas Citizen Absentee Voter Act.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. In any case, so you have the original ballots, and then you have the duplicates, and there was roughly 50,000 total, so there's 25,000 originals and roughly 25,000 duplicates, assuming that they all matched up with that. So in order to make sure that things are not double counted and things are attributed properly, it's very important to be able to match them up. In fact, this is why there's statute that says there's supposed to be a serial number on the original that you can match up with the serial number on the actual duplicate. So one for one that they were counted properly, and from an audit standpoint, we want to make sure that the original is exactly the same as the duplicate. So it's important to us to make sure that we can match those. So when we receive a manifest that states that stuffs were originals, when we actually start looking through them, we realize that they're duplicates. It creates things that are a lot more complicated and difficult for us. So these are some of the examples in here. You'll see that there's a whole bunch of things that were wrong where we were stated. There's several things on there that were not listed on the manifest that were actually in the box. There's one of them that was actually on the box that wasn't really in the observed, that was on the manifest that wasn't actually found in the box. We had within the Braille ballot box that was labeled as Braille ballot, we had other types of ballots that were found in there that were not expected to be in there. So it makes things much more difficult. And moving on to, actually, if you scroll down, you should see Exhibit C. Okay.
You might need to speak into the mic a little bit more, Mr. Logan.
So what we have here is we actually took a few examples out where serial numbers really should be unique. There should be one original ballot with a serial number and one ballot which is the duplicate of it with the same serial number. When you take a look at this chart, the first the first column is the box ID. That's the box that it came out of. And then you take a look at the next column, it'll tell you whether it's a type, what the type is. Dupe means it's a duplicate. DSD, it means that it is actually the original ballot. And you'll notice that the last column is a serial number, but they're in groups of 3, which shouldn't really happen. So we have 2 original ballots that have the same exact serial number, and we have only 1 that was duplicated from it. And these are just a handful of examples that we have that go through it. And so we have a whole bunch of ballots that also don't have any serial number of them, so it's quite possible that for the second one with the same serial number, there's another one that matches up with it that literally doesn't have a serial number on it. But it creates a lot of time and difficulty in resolving these issues when it was not done in a manner where it's easy to match up and really according to my understanding of what statute it is and what statute states. Not an attorney, but Ken Bennett can probably speak a lot more.
I'm not one either.
But you know the statutes really well.
So just to be clear on this, Madam President, I think, so this is some of the delay, I guess, so some of why it took so long to put these all together or trying to assimilate this, because you've got this kind of confusion and
Correct.
And with Maricopa County refusing to answer any questions as to help us understand what you did here.
And
right?
there may be some explanation as to how and why serial numbers get duplicated. It doesn't seem like a good practice any way that you look at it, but if it's well documented and there's some easy way for things to be audited, then you're in good shape. But that's one of the problems we've run into, is that so many of the issues we've encountered through things makes it very difficult, if not impossible, in order to audit things. And it's our goal in going through there to give some irrefutable proof to make sure that we know that things were solid or that they're not. And these types of problems make it very difficult for us to be able to say absolutely on certain aspects.